Hi, beautiful. If you are brand new to nursing or just need a refresher because it's been a while since you nursed a baby, you're in the right place. Because today on Apothecary Wisdom, we are covering Breastfeeding 101 and the 9 best breastfeeding practices. Because it is my intention to support you, to help you and your baby learn to nurse. I really want to make your breastfeeding experience go as smooth as possible. If this is our first time meeting, my name is Maria Chaudhry. I'm a mother, a midwife, and an herbalist. And as a mother, I breastfed my baby till he was 3. And as a midwife, I have attended hundreds of home births. And as an herbalist, we've created herbal products to support breastfeeding women all over the world. We've helped more than 30,000 women continue to breastfeed. And so, breastfeeding is a natural and normal experience, and 80% of women, right after they give birth, they have the intention of breastfeeding, and by the time it's 3 months in, half of them stop breastfeeding. And why is that? Why did the other half continue? The other half didn't continue because they were lucky. They continued because they were prepared. And so Breastfeeding 101, we're going to start with the first most important thing is to prepare yourself for breastfeeding. Part of that is preparing your mental mindset, and then the other part is preparing your life for what's about to happen. One thing I would like to say is get 3 breastfeeding books. I would show them to you, but I've loaned them out and I haven't gotten them back. So the first one is The Womanly Art of Breastfeeding by Lactation. The next one is Ina May's Guide to Breastfeeding. And then the third one is The Complete Guide to Breastfeeding. Get those 3 books, have them on your shelf, have them before you give birth. Okay? If watching videos is your thing, because you're watching this video, woohoo! Thank you. And watch all of our breastfeeding videos. I mean, just kind of plug in and watch them all, and you'll be really prepared. The next thing is to go ahead, while you're still pregnant, if you can do this, it would be great, go to La Leche League meetings. Here's why. Many of us have grown up in a culture where we don't see women breastfeeding all the time. Like, we don't tend to grow up with our aunties and our cousins and our sisters and everyone's nursing their babies, right? So when it comes time for us to breastfeed, it's a little bit new. So going to La Leche League meetings before you give birth, it's an opportunity for you to stand back and scope the scene. You'll see the new mom, the brand new mom, and she's figuring it out, and she's nervous to nurse in public, and her baby's crying, and she's feeling all stressed, and she's got her bag of 30 different items that she needs. And then you see the mid-grade girl, she's been doing it for a while, but she still has a pretty young baby, and then you can see the difference between already, within just a few months, how more relaxed and comfortable they are. And then you see the seasoned mom that's got a full-on big baby, nursing, carrying on a conversation, eating, just being herself, and you can see the full spectrum of where you're gonna go, right? So that's one thing. Another reason is when you're at home with your baby, it's really isolating and you feel lonely, and La Leche League meetings are perfect opportunities to make friends that are doing what you're doing, right? The third reason is if you actually do have a breastfeeding problem later and you need the support, it's a lot easier to go ahead and call the La Leche League leader because you already met her and you already know she's awesome and she's already going to be your friend, right? And so it's a lot easier to make that call. So that's why I support going to the meetings. The other piece of preparing is to prepare your body. You got to prepare your nipples. I mean, unless you've breastfed before, you are not at all prepared for the amount of sensation and touch that you're about to receive. So you kind of got to gradually work your way up to that. So in the shower is a good time. Twist and pull your nipples, pull on them. Back in the day, we used to recommend to use a towel or a loofah to toughen them up. That's a little bit extreme, but either way, you kind of need, the perception is you don't want to hurt yourself, but you want to toughen up your tissues. Okay? The other thing is everybody thinks they look normal, which they do look normal, but there's a whole bunch of women that have flat nipples and have inverted nipples. And so you want to know that ahead of time and not discover that when you're first trying to latch your baby on. If you do have flat or inverted nipples, you'll be able to nurse your baby. It's just you're going to need some more skills and some more tools and some more support. And I have a whole blog about that, a whole video about that. The third piece into the whole preparation is setting up your home and your life and your family. But the simple thing is to just set up a nursing station. You need 2 nursing stations. One in your bedroom, right by your bed, and then one in the living room so you can be around people. I would also suggest investing in a good breastfeeding pillow and investing in a nice sling that you can eventually, you can nurse your baby on the go and you can travel and carry your baby. So those are the things in terms of preparing. So go ahead and I invite you to push like and subscribe to this video and subscribe to our channel, because I want to share the rest of this stuff with you. And I really want you to subscribe and ring the bell, especially if you like videos all about birth, breastfeeding from a midwife and an herbal perspective. Okay? So number 2 is self-care always comes first. Okay? So it's imperative that you remember that your body is going through so much long after the baby has been born, right? Every time that you're nursing, you're using calories, you're using fat, you're using your nutrient stores, and the amount of emotional and psychological and physical energy that you're giving to the baby is unprecedented. Right? And so you need to take care of yourself, because what you're doing should not be taken lightly. The first thing to do is, if you've watched my other videos, you know what I'm going to say. I'm going to say hydration. So hydration, you want to make sure you have plenty of water. And so at both nursing stations, you should have a gallon of water at both nursing stations. And go ahead in the morning, brew yourself a big quart jar of nursing nectar tea so that you can sip on your tea throughout the day and you can drink your water throughout the day. All right, the next thing is nourishment. And you're nursing your baby, you're sitting at your nursing station all day, you're not getting up and moving around, and so you need foods that are easy to eat one-handed, like hard-boiled eggs, cheese, crackers, nuts, granola, protein bars, lactation smoothies. I have a whole blog post with tons of recipes for lactation cookies and cakes and breads and all the one-handed snacks that are easy for you. So go ahead and read that one once this is over. And the other thing in terms of self-care is taking time to remember to take a deep breath. Like even right now, just pause. Take a deep breath, come back to your center, right? Do that like 100 times a day. And just gently stretching your body, practicing yoga, practicing qigong, because what happens when you have your baby and you're breastfeeding is you're hunched over all day and you're trying to perfect the latch, or you're hunched over and you're like, oh my gosh, my baby's amazing and beautiful. Oh my gosh, I love you. But you're hunched over all day. Or you're on your phone, hunched over all day. And when you're hunched over, you don't feel good. And so when you practice yoga or qigong and take a deep breath, you stand up, you create space, you feel better in your body. And when you feel better in your body, that means you sleep better, your emotions are better, you make more milk, everything in life improves. Another little piece to self-care is you and your baby just go outside. Go outside, even if it's cold, bundle up. I mean, within reason, bundle up or go out and get some sunshine, some sunlight. Stepping outside really shifts your mood and shifts your perspective and puts your baby in a good mood too. The other thing in self-care is asking for help, but the piece of it is really accepting help when it's offered. Getting comfortable with allowing other people to do things for you. That's going to exponentially improve your whole situation. And I want to remind you that you're doing an amazing job. Even if you sat on the couch all day, you didn't wash the dishes, you didn't cook, the house is a mess, and you certainly didn't work at your job, but you nursed your baby all day. And that is important and valuable work, right? So I want you to honor your body and listen to your body, because your body is so wise. And it teaches us you cannot give what you don't have. So when you're completely depleted, that's where you are. And you're just going to get more and more depleted. So come back and take care of yourself. Priority, self-care first. All right, number 3 is read the feeding cues, right? And so learning to read the cues of your baby and not being on a breastfeeding schedule will help you organically become harmonized to your baby. You'll start to recognize their cries, if that's a cry for being hungry or a cry for, I don't know, just pick me up just because, or a cry for I need to get my diaper changed, or I'm afraid, or I'm in pain because I'm going through a growth spurt. You start to really hear the difference between the cries, and you're meeting your baby's needs in a profound and fundamental way that's going to help them grow to be secure people that trust other people. When you don't meet their needs, you put yourself in a chronic stressful situation because your baby's crying all the time and you're not able to understand what they're trying to communicate, and then you are in this heightened cortisol level state, and that affects your milk supply and a whole host of other things. So the feeding cues. Feeding cues in brief are the first cue. What you want to look for is when they stick their tongue out and they open their mouth and turn their head toward you. If you can nurse them at that moment, you are going to really establish your milk supply and establish clear, effective communication, and one that says that I value you. Okay, number 4 is get skin to skin. So getting skin to skin, it means getting naked. You're getting naked, stripping down, and your baby's stripping down to the diaper and getting bundled up. Even the papas can do this, and it is going to help establish your supply because it's going to influence your hormones. It's going to bring your prolactin and your oxytocin in, and they help you feel really good, and they help your baby will feel secure, can smell you and you can smell your baby. When you smell your baby, it's going to help bring your milk in, and you just kind of continue that communication on a biological level, and it's going to be really beautiful. Plus, it'll help boost their immune system, and it will help maintain their temperature. Okay, so before I go on, I want to check in with you because this is all about preparation. Do you already have breastfeeding books? Do you already have your nursing station set up? Have you already been to a Leche League meeting? Let us know in the comments what ways that you're preparing for breastfeeding success. Okay, number 5 is perfecting the latch. And I like to call it boob wrangling, but the technical term is perfecting the latch. So perfecting the latch is by far the steepest learning curve, and it's going to be your key to success. So getting this down is how you're going to be successful. I just want to say that in the very beginning, in the early days of breastfeeding, you're going to have to work on the latch a lot, and you're going to have to teach the baby how to latch on, and you're going to have to take the baby off multiple times, and do not assume that the baby is latched on correctly. Make sure it's latched on correctly. And so, in brief, I'll show you how to do it. One thing is you want to get comfortable in your nursing station, right? And you want to bring your baby to you rather than you to your baby. That's why the breastfeeding pillow is good. You don't want to be hunched over or twisted. You want to have the baby up to you. You want to have belly to belly, ideally skin to skin. And you want to make sure the ear and the shoulder and the hips are in alignment. With your one hand, you're going to support their head. And then another hand, you're going to support your breast, make a C shape. And then the goal is to get as much of the areola in their mouth and the nipple straight into the back, to the roof of their mouth, because when they do that, they have a wide latch and a strong latch, and they can stimulate all the milk ducts, and they can help you make more milk, and they can also help empty your breast. So the latch is really important for milk production. So you have your breast, and then what you do is you rub the nipple up and down on the baby's mouth, and then wait till they open their mouth like a big yawn. And then when their mouth is open like a big yawn, you press them on there, right? And then you double check and you make sure the top lip isn't curled under and the bottom lip isn't curled under. And they have a very wide open mouth and their lips are not pursed. If you see any of the nipple and if you see a lot of the areolas, take them off and do it again. You'll also know they have a good latch when they're sucking and swallowing. And when they're sucking and swallowing, their ear will go up and down. And you'll hear suck and swallow. Okay? So that's essentially how to get a good latch. Well, and one other piece I should have showed you here is also you can breastfeed in all these different positions, right? So what's the best position? Is it best to do it like this? Or is it best to do it like this? Or is it best to do it like this? Or like this? Or like this? It doesn't really matter as long as your baby has a good latch. And you'll want to change up your positions a lot. So any way that you're holding the baby is perfectly fine as long as the baby has a good latch. Okay. Number 6 is accurately gauge milk supply. Because the milk supply concern is probably the most common concern. I get questions every week about this. Because the concern is when you can't see the milk leaving your breast, you can't see it, so then you can't see it, then it becomes a concern. Or somebody else is concerned about your breastfeeding and they're putting it on you. But I just want you to take a moment, take a deep breath, and watch your baby. And you can gauge your supply. Your baby will tell you if you have enough milk, right? Your baby, when you're nursing your baby and your baby goes from a tight, stiff, tight little hands and then they become relaxed, that's a sign that they're finished nursing, right? And when they become really relaxed and they're not actively sucking and swallowing anymore, they're done nursing, right? They've received all the milk that they need. However, your sweet baby might still want to linger on your breast, which may be totally fine, but if you have sore nipples, you'll want to take the baby off your breast because what they're doing is self-soothing, and that's wonderful. You can self-soothe skin to skin instead if you have sore nipples, because if they're on the breast and they're not actively sucking and swallowing, they're doing what's called as non-nutritive feeding, and that is just burning some of their calories and potentially hurting you. So take them off the breast until they're ready to nurse again, because you want nutritive feeding. Nutritive feeding is when they're actively sucking and swallowing. One thing I want to say though, especially when your milk is coming in, frequent nursing, or the baby wanting to nurse all the time, or the baby being almost frantic to nurse, that is not a sign of a low supply. That is a sign that's normal and that they just want to nurse all the time. And in the very beginning, honestly, that when I say all the time, I'm not exaggerating. They want to nurse all the time. And in the very beginning, it seems like a lot because it is, but what they're doing is they are demanding your body to make a bunch of breast milk. They're pulling your milk in and establishing your milk supply. So every time, even if you took them off and now they're giving you the cues again, in the very beginning, put them right back on and it's going to just bring your milk in solid and you'll have a good supply. Okay. What else do I want to say? Oh, one thing I want to say about frantic nursing and needing to nurse all the time is partially because babies' stomachs are tiny. So this is the size, if you can see this is the size of a newborn stomach, right? It's tiny. And your colostrum is only going to come out in thick drops because your colostrum is like medicine. So it's not like food, it's like medicine to establish their immune system, and it's like nutrient dense, like supplements, right? So it's establishing their core, what they're needing. And so they're gonna nurse and nurse and nurse a bunch to bring your milk in, right? The other thing is then once your milk comes in, breast milk is a living food. It's like a live food and it's already pretty much already digested. So the baby can drink and digest it, absorb it, and pass through their system very quickly. And so they need to eat a lot more, right? So I want to say that when you start with colostrum, and then your milk will come in about 2 to 5 days. And then when your milk comes in, boom, you're going to be engorged. And then your milk will be like watery bluish. You'll have your foremilk, watery bluish, and then after the baby nurses, you'll see that it's thicker at the end of your nursing session, and that's your thick, rich, fat hind milk. And so that's why it's really important that your baby nurses on one side and really nurses down and gets the foremilk and the hind milk. Okay. Really back to this whole, is my baby getting enough milk? It's just look at your baby, and what the best gauge of input is output. So is your baby nursing a bunch? Yes. Okay. Is your baby having 6 wet diapers and 3 to 5 mustard colored bowel movements? Yes. So you have output. That's sufficient. Are they gaining weight? This is another piece. When your baby is born and then they start breastfeeding colostrum, they're going to lose weight. So anticipate that. That's normal. Your baby's going to lose weight. And then by the time your milk comes in and they've got your foremilk and your hind milk, and about 2 weeks old, they should be back to their birth weight. And then from that point, they should start to gain weight. Every baby is a little bit different, so there's variations to that, but that's a general rule. Okay? If you're at all concerned about breast milk supply, because millions of women are concerned about that, I have 2 videos that you should check out. One is why do I have a low milk supply, and the other one is how to increase your supply, and they'll really help you and get you pointed in the right direction. Of course, I'm an herbalist, so we have herbs to help you if you have a low milk supply. You can have your breastfeeding tea, and then you can have Let There Be Milk, which is a more potent, stronger herbal supplement that's going to boost your supply. Okay, Number 7. We're moving along really beautifully. Number 7 is important also because you have to discern the difference between normal and abnormal breastfeeding pain. And back to having realistic expectations and a plan, you want to know, like, in the beginning, in a normal, healthy, perfect situation, you have to expect breastfeeding discomfort, right? Your nipples will be sore. Your breast will be full, right? And that's going to last for about 2 weeks. Now, however, so if you're having that and your nipples are sore, then some nipple salve. I mean, nipple salve is perfect. It's like blended with food grade herbs, organic herbs, and you don't have to wipe it off. It's safe for the babies, and it's soothing, and it helps your breasts just feel so much better, right? However, if you are nursing and it's been several weeks and your nipple pain is not getting better, then that's clearly a sign that you have a problem that needs to be solved, right? And so if that's the case, I have a video for you. It's called How to Heal Sore Nipples, and it will line you out because you're going to need it, right? The other thing about persistent pain, you have sore nipple pain, but then you also have like shooting, stabbing pain. That's going to be a sign of thrush, which I also have a blog for you. And then if you have red, hot, swollen, throbbing, hard lumps, those are signs of clogged milk ducts, and those are signs of mastitis. If you have a fever and chills, and you feel flu-like and a bunch of body aches, that is mastitis, and it needs to be treated right away. And you want to read my blog about how to treat clogged milk ducts to prevent mastitis, and it will line you out because it's very important that you get on it right away. Okay, a few other almost like miscellaneous things I had to put in here is when you're nursing your baby and you have to take your baby off the breast, don't just pull your baby off the breast. You have to stick your pinky in their mouth and break the suction before you pull your baby off the breast. And you'll only do that one time because you'll remember. Because what happens when they're still their like suction cup mouth is still on there and you pull them off, it's going to really damage your nipples. And like if you have scabbed or cracked sore nipples, you're going to start over from scratch. The other thing is when you're finished nursing, then hand express just a little bit of colostrum or breast milk and rub it into your areolas and all around your nipples. That's nature's medicine, and it will help with any nipple pain. And then also in the privacy of your own home, just go topless, take your shirt off, let the sunlight touch your breast, let the fresh air touch your breast, because those are nature's healers. Okay, and one other thing is like in the beginning, just stick to the basics in the early days. Don't try to like nurse and then try to pump and try to do all these things. Okay, just work on the latch and just work on nursing. And then you graduate to the next levels. Also in the early days, I kind of already mentioned it, but the early days breastfeeding is really rough, right? But you're in the beginning. And it does get better. Eventually, it just gets better. And you're at the beginning of this long, beautiful journey, and the beginning of this relationship that is one of the most profound and rewarding relationships of your entire life. Not only is it a relationship with your baby, but it's a relationship with your body. And it's truly amazing. So take your time. Know that might be in a rough patch sometimes, but it gets better. And the last tip I'm going to give you, number 9, is get breastfeeding support when you need it. I mean, of course, you've got this. You totally got this. You can totally do it, right? And just remember, though, you're not perfect. You're powerful. Of course, you don't have all the answers. Of course, you don't know how to do it. But you're going to figure it out, and you don't have to figure it out alone. We're here for you, and your friends at the La Leche League group that you went to, they're there for you, and lactation consultants are there for you. And if you have family members that are really there, allow them, reach in, allow them to support you. So we're going to wrap this up, but before we do, I want to check in with you. I want to hear, okay, so when you're preparing for breastfeeding, what did you over prepare for? You were so set on, almost too much. And then what did you not even prepare for, totally blew you by, missed it completely. And then here you are, now you're learning how to nurse and learning how to breastfeed. Like, what are you learning? What surprises? What things are popping up? And I invite you to share it in the comments so that we can create and establish a community of breastfeeding moms that support each other and learn from each other. Because when we can support each other and learn from each other, we make the world a much more beautiful, safe, and nourishing place to be. So I hope these tips helped you establish your breastfeeding success plan. And I encourage you, pretty please, share this video with your friends. Push like and subscribe. And remember, below the links, I have all the links for all your herbs and all the breastfeeding resources that I mentioned in this video. And until next time, I'll see you in the next video. And hug your sweet baby and let your love and your milk flow.